We are going to go live. Welcome to the Morning Hoops podcast. I'm Kyle McKeown. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. And I'm joined tonight by Anthony Denu. Same guy I'm joined by every night. Hey, Anthony.
That's right.
How's it going?
Going great. You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu, as you maybe see if you're live streaming with us on YouTube.
Absolutely.
There you go.
All right. Yeah.
So this is the
just,
Thursday night, Friday night,
yeah.
the Thursday, Friday edition of Morning Hoops. And what do we got? 2 games tonight. And we can also preview our slate for tomorrow. But first, let's get into some news. Kyle, big news and notes, injury updates of the day.
Yeah, we had from the Orlando Magic, Nikola Vucevic is going to be out for at least 4 weeks with an ankle sprain. They didn't tell us the severity of it, but you got to imagine it's probably a grade 2 sprain, and we don't know a lot of details, so it might even be worse. It might be the De'Aaron Fox level of a grade 3 sprain, which grade 3 sprains can keep guys out for a long time. So that's a little bit scary. Same team, Aaron Gordon is dealing with an ankle bruise, but they didn't tell us if that's a soft tissue bruise on his ankle or a bone bruise. If it's a bone bruise, that could sideline him for 1 to 2 months. And it's also something that we saw Darren Williams deal with in the past when he was on the Nets. And that thing lingered. He would go and try to play or return, and then he would just re-injure it. It's something that you have to stay off for an extended period of time. So hopefully it's just a soft tissue bruise, but we don't have a lot of details on really either of those injuries right now. It was weird. We got a report on Nikola Vucevic that he was going to be out for at least 4 weeks. And then we got another report later saying he's going to be reevaluated in 7 days. And it's just like, well, okay, he's going to be reevaluated in 7 days, but they're still expecting him to miss a month. So I just don't even know why they necessarily told us about that. Anything else for us news-wise?
Okay, what does that mean for the Magic? Mo Bamba is the man? Da-da-da-da, Mo Bamba.
Yeah, not really, no. A lot of people are going to assume that Mo Bamba would be the guy that would step up because he's their center of the future in some regard, or the guy that they spent a high draft pick on in last year's draft. And most people thought, okay, Vucevic is going to be on his way out. But then Vucevic came out last year and had an all-star season. And now he just became a guy that the Magic then re-signed this offseason. Coming into this year, Bamba's been on a bit of a restriction. He hasn't played in any back-to-backs yet, held out of 2 of those. And we saw in the last game when Vucevic went down, Khem Birch came up off the bench, started in the second half, played more minutes than what Bamba did. And that's probably what we're going to see is Khem Birch step in as a middling starter, and then Bamba might get a few more minutes. Maybe if the restrictions come off, if he shows more development, maybe Bamba gets a bigger run than what we're expecting. But in a lot of respects, I'm expecting Birch to start, Bamba to get pretty much the same run he's been getting in that bench role, because it seems like he's still on some kind of restrictions and also just a developmental role where they're trying to build him up. But we'll probably see Jonathan Isaac play a lot more minutes at center, get Alfred Kominu back in the rotation more consistently, and that's where I think we'll end up with the Magic. Do you have any kind of a different take on that rotation and how it might break down?
No, I guess my hope is, for fantasy purposes, that Mo Bamba is the guy who benefits the most. But I'm a little disappointed at your take of the situation, but I still take it to be I take it to heart.
Thanks. You mean you don't think I'm full of it?
Yeah, you're not full of stool. Yeah,
okay.
I believe you.
Cool.
That's what you want to hear. Cool. So the other injury news is a potential return of Victor Oladipo.
Well, he went through a full scrimmage on Thursday, but after the full scrimmage and after that news was announced, we also got the redundancy that the Pacers continue to say about him is, yeah, he's making progress. Yes, he's looking good, but they're still going to hold him up the same amount of time that they told us they were going to prior. We're probably not going to see Oladipo until sometime in December or possibly even January, which is fine. It's why not get him back to full health? Then maybe they can bring him in. And even by having him do all these scrimmages, go down to the G League and stuff like they are, maybe it'll put Oladipo in a better position to be able to play at his normal speed quicker once he gets back. He's not going to be the same. He's not going to be the Oladipo all-star right away. That's not going to be him.
Okay.
And they don't need him to be with how good their team is right now and how much depth they have on the wing. They don't. They got Brogdon, they got Jeremy Lamb, they've got TJ Warren. You don't need to necessarily push, which is why we're also seeing them be so, I guess, conservative or cautious, however you want to frame it, with Oladipo and his return.
Are any other big news of the day before we jump into the 2-game slate?
No, not really. I think we should just go ahead and talk about this Portland-Milwaukee game, which you got a good look at, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I watched almost every second of the game, and probably more entertaining and closer than most Bucks fans would like. The Bucks won 137 to 129. It was fairly close from beginning to end. I mean, the Bucks had a few good stretches, but the Blazers would fight right back and really were never down by too much. And this was a game up until the last minute and a half, 2 minutes. So, and the Blazers, I mean, they scored, I think, 18 points above their average. Their average is around 111 and ended up with 129. A good game overall for the Blazers, just based on what they have. Lillard was out, Carmelo's second game, and playing against the top team in the East from last year and likely the top team in the East this year.
Yeah, this was the second straight missed game with back issue, or I think it might even been the third for Lillard, but he's expected to, or he's hoping to be back for their next game on Saturday. So at least that's a little bit of a positive note for Trailblazers fans. Again, finally get to maybe see Lillard play with Carmelo Anthony. Anthony Simons was dealing with an ankle issue coming into this game. He probably would have been the spot starter with Damian Lillard out, but with Simons dealing with that ankle issue, the Blazers decided to put Gary Trent into the starting lineup at shooting guard, slide CJ McCollum over to point guard. And, that's something we've always talked about, Anthony, is this idea that CJ McCollum can be that main facilitator, that point guard on a team. And how we would both like to see him maybe go to another team someday and be that primary point guard so he can go out and get his own buckets, facilitate as he's able to. What did you think about seeing CJ McCollum in this kind of a role?
Dude, I think he was as advertised. I mean, he was the man when he was. I mean, you had no Lillard stepping in his way. God, he had 29 shots, 15 of 29, 37 points, 10 assists, 6 assists. He had 3 blocks, and you just get to see when he works in space or even in tight spaces how smooth he is, and it's really like closing defenses do not affect him. And even when he's around the room, he's a smooth operator, man. So much fun to watch. Love to get to see him have the ball in his hands more and not have to play the kind of, the second banana, the off ball guy. I love seeing the ball in his hands, and he was magic tonight, man. It was a lot of fun. Not Magic Johnson, but watching him, he was a special player. It was a magic night.
In addition to Damian Lillard being out, the Blazers also had starting center Hassan Whiteside out. They decided to start Anthony Tolliver at center, and we've seen this. I mean, it's kind of a move of necessity or desperation based on the lack of depth the Blazers have available at center right now due to all the health issues they have with Zach Collins being out, with Yusuf Nurkic out. But even though Skal Labissiere is on this team, they still decided to start Anthony Tolliver at center. I suppose that's matchup reasons, making it like okay to put Tolliver at center because Brook Lopez is the starting center for the Bucks. You don't necessarily have to have somebody who's able to guard in the post a lot of possessions. Even with that matchup, we didn't really see Brook Lopez try to go punish Anthony Tolliver, did we?
No, and even with, it was a bizarre night. I actually feel like I saw Tolliver on Giannis more than I saw him on Lopez at times. But I mean, with the way
were they just starting?
Everything,
so were they using Carmelo Anthony on Brook Lopez then, essentially?
And that's what it looked like to me at times, or at least early in the game. Like I said, I guess that could have been off of a couple switches, but that's what also to me when I saw that Anthony Tolliver was starting I really was like salivating at the idea of as being a Bucks fan, because I'm like, how are the Blazers going to compete at all?
Yeah.
And but really, when CJ plays like he did, that's the reason why they were able to keep it close.
Well, and with Hassan Whiteside out, Scalabissier did come off the bench and have a great game. Played 28 minutes, put up 22 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 5 blocks, 2 of 4 from three-point land. I mean, he put up kind of a Brook Lopez kind of line and even more rebounds than what Brook usually would. So Scalabissier had a heck of a night. He won't get that kind of run most of the time when this team's healthy, though. So I think it's kind of just like a one-off, good for you performance for Scalabissier. He's been inconsistent his whole career, and it's hard to think that he's suddenly found his groove with the Blazers. I'm a big fan of his skilled game, though. The fact that he is a big man who's able to do multiple things out there on the court. What do you think of his performance tonight?
He looked good on offense, not great on defense. And I just, from being where I live, in a Portland suburb, I know that most Blazers fans, even though Skal did have a very good game tonight, they'd really rather see Nasir Little get a lot of those minutes. Okay. But you're exposing him if you allow him to guard Giannis in the situation that the Blazers were in tonight. So I in some regards, I understand why he only played 17 minutes off the bench.
We might have buried the lead here a little bit, just because I'm sure that most people who are casual NBA fans that came off judgy. I'm sure a lot of people want to talk about Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists in this game. 3 of 5 from three-point land, was just 6 of 15 from the field, but played 29 minutes in this second game with the Trailblazers. How did he look for you?
You know what the highlight play for my money was? He made a hustle play to throw the ball off of one of the Bucks as it was going out of bounds, and it really was very minor and somewhat meaningless if it's anybody else, really. But it was like, okay, maybe he's willing to hustle a little bit and do some of the dirty things. So that was interesting to me. But he looks solid out there, man. He does look like Melo. He doesn't look like he's been off for a year. He looks solid, and I mean, if he can accept whatever role he is, here's what I think it is. Carmelo Anthony needs to play like Anthony Tolliver. And then I think Carmelo Anthony will be actually a pretty good role player.
That's extremely an interesting take. Carmelo Anthony to play like Anthony Tolliver. I don't think we'll ever see it, though.
I know. It almost made it to Twitter, but I held off.
Did you? We can't say the words that Carmelo says on the court, but when he gets a rebound,
what is with that?
He says some curse words, and it's "get the heck out of here," but a worse word than heck.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre, but I love it. It's like my favorite thing about Carmelo Anthony is the fact that when he gets a rebound, he screams, get the heck out of here.
Yeah, it's like the Carlos Boozer, grab it, Joe.
Oh, it's the best thing about Carmelo. I love it.
Yeah.
Anything else from this Blazer side of things that stuck out to you? Anthony Simons struggled in his 17 minutes, just 2 of 9 from the field, and you got to think that he was probably limited by his ankle injury a little bit.
Yeah, sadly, I mean when with Lillard out, you would hope that Simons would get closer to 25 plus minutes, but with the injury, not going to happen tonight. If you kept track over the last year of the Mario Hezonja and Giannis semi-feud, Hezonja had 10 minutes tonight, 4 fouls, didn't score, didn't take a shot, and had 1 rebound.
Hezonja's crapped the bed all season for the Trailblazers. He's in another situation where he should be able to step up, claim a big role. He hasn't been able to do it. I mean, it's an early season and everything, but like, I'm getting to the point where I'm just ready to write off the potential upside of Hezonja and just say, you know what, he's just not that great of a basketball player. Maybe he'll never get it. It's how many teams do you got to go to? How many coaches do you got to go to? How many coaches do you have to have that give you an opportunity to have a starting job or to play a big role, and you just can't do it? I mean, injuries galore keep opening the door for Mario Hezonja, and he can't step through. So It's pretty frustrating.
Much better players have gone back overseas with, you know what I mean? Like after, you know what it just, so I could see him making a return back overseas and being done with the NBA, maybe for just a couple years and coming back. A number of players have done that as well.
He could do the Ersan trip, go overseas, get good or get confidence from the NBA that when you do come back, it's going to be in a bigger role.
Yeah, get a new identity from the Turkish government.
Yep. Exactly. What about on the Bucks side of things that stood out to you? I think the biggest statistic of the night was Giannis's career high 15 assists.
Yeah, 15 assists to go with 19 rebounds and only 24 points. So it's funny how it was really, if you look at it from an offensive perspective, you could say that Giannis was pretty awful shooting the ball, 1 for 7 from beyond and 5 of 10 at the free throw line. But 15 assists. That's his career high. He had, I think 14 was the previous career high. Pretty awesome triple-double numbers for Giannis tonight. That was pretty spectacular, man. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's fun to watch him every night. It's like sometimes after all the rough things I've been through as a Bucks fan, I really just sit and watch him and shake my head and think about how lucky I am. All of a sudden,
that's what all Bucks fans should be doing, is just thinking about how lucky they are to have Giannis and not worrying about any of the national media malarkey that comes out. Because if he wins championships with them, it's funny, man. You get on social media and you can find some really bad takes. Somebody was trying to say that like the Bucks haven't done a good job surrounding Giannis, or they don't have a deep enough team for Giannis, and I'm just like, they arguably have the deepest team in the league. John Holt has done as great of a job as you can possibly expect to do in a small market. And for all the idiots who pump out that Malcolm Brogdon narrative that because Brogdon left, Giannis is going to leave the team eventually. Malcolm Brogdon didn't want to be in Milwaukee, and he has his personal reasons for it, which are, not necessarily political, but socio-political, and that's fine. If he didn't feel comfortable living in Milwaukee and he wanted to go somewhere else, that's perfectly okay. That's his choice. Regardless of that fact, Brogdon was going to make too much. The Bucks couldn't afford it from the perspective that they plan on challenging for multiple championships over the years with Giannis, not just one this season. So they're playing the long game with a lot of stuff, and they're being smart, because if they get the right player, then they're more than willing to go into the luxury tax for the right player. Malcolm Brogdon isn't the guy who's going to send you over the top for a championship.
It's got to be like, it's got to be like someone who's a borderline superstar. And Brogdon did have an all-time great shooting season last year, but maybe those percentages were helped out a little bit by missing some time. Not that he would have fallen off the 50, 40, 90, but regardless, the Bucks ultimately chose Eric Bledsoe and a cheaper deal over keeping Brogdon. So I know a lot of people like to say, oh, they chose Middleton over Brogdon. I don't see that as the case at all. I think Middleton was a given. It was Middleton no matter what. And then who is going to play point guard? Is it Brogdon or Bledsoe? Bledsoe was willing to take a lot less money. And so, or like $7-8 million less?
Bledsoe took a really good contract. It's based on his talent level and what he could have gotten in the open market.
Mm-hmm.
Bledsoe took a very team-friendly deal, or a very fair deal for his talent. And with Middleton out right now, and with how good Eric Bledsoe's been playing early this season, I think he's their second all-star, because on this Bucks team, with how dominant they're going to be, you'll get a second all-star.
I hope so too, man. It would be Bledsoe's first all-star appearance.
So I'm a believer. I think it'll happen. Dante DiVincenzo continued to play well. 16 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 of 6 from three-point land, 7 of 15 overall, 27 minutes as that interim starter as Middleton is out. What'd you think of his performance this night?
He continued to look more and more comfortable. It's looking good, man. The ball looks good in his hands. His shot is solid. There's a couple of times where I feel like he's in between dunking and laying it up, and he he biffs it because of that he's not sure if he should like throw it down hard or if he should just lay it up. And he just makes the decision too late, too often when he's wide open. And it's fine. Either way, just whatever you're going to do it.
Is that, so that's him just being indecisive because he's trying to be a team player instead of looking for his own shot?
I don't necessarily. I'm not sure that's what it is. I think he's just like in between. I think he hasn't figured it out, but he hasn't really had all these open lanes and playing time to make these things happen. So honestly, a week from now, I don't see this being an issue at all. So, but he's been he's been good out there, man. He's been fun to watch. +5 tonight, 16 points, 6 rebounds. And he's looking better and better. And like we talked about the last few nights, I think he sticks in the rotation heavily, even if he does come off the bench when Middleton returns. Or Wes could be that guy.
I think they're going to move DiVincenzo back to the bench. I just have a hard time believing that Matthews will get tossed to the bench. Plus, Matthews is more of an off-ball guy, which is what you kind of want in there when you have Bledsoe, Middleton, and Giannis already in the starting lineup. Something I didn't mention about Bledsoe is the fact that he scored 30 points in this game. It was his second 30-point game of the season already, so he's doing really well. Pat Connaughton scored a season-high 18 points off the bench, was 7 of 10 from the field, 2 of 3 from three-point land, also had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and, pretty nice game from Pat Connaughton off the bench. It's wonderful that the Bucks have that depth that they can have just one of their good guys get hot. One of their good wing shooters get hot off the bench on a given night. Kyle Korver was out of the rotation for the night, but it was a back-to-back. So it was probably just them saying, hey, you know what, Vet, you're getting this one off.
Yeah, and Pat's been having a very hard time finding his footing so far this season. So that was great to see Pat Connaughton have a good game, showing off his athleticism, the shooting. He was 2 for 3 from beyond, and as you said, finished with 18 points. So he was very good tonight. His best game of the season by far.
All right, let's move on to the next game of the night, the only other game of the night. New Orleans Pelicans at the Phoenix Suns. The Pelicans pulled this one out 124-121 over the Suns, came down right to the end of the game. Brandon Ingram was terrific, scored 28 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 of 6 from three-point land, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 9 of 19 overall in just 33 minutes. Heck of a game. Looks like he might have been a little bit limited by foul trouble with 5 fouls as well. I guess from the injury perspective of the Pelicans to kind of frame their game, Derek Favors was still out with his back spasms. Jahlil Okafor was still out. Josh Hart was still out. But Lonzo Ball was back, which was nice for the Pelicans. They opted to limit him coming back from a groin issue. He came off the bench, having a 20-minute limit, put up 8 points, 5 assists, 1 rebound, and 2 3-pointers. How'd you think Lonzo Ball looked in his limited action? Did he at least look healthy?
Yeah, he did look healthy. I thought his shot looks a little weird to me still. Maybe that's just
it's just
be the case. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It looks. It's not even just. I used to think it was his arm angle, and now I also think that he doesn't have a balanced jump, and it's just he's going to be so inconsistent when you have 2 different things that make your shot weird or unique. Those are 2 things that are going to continually bother him in terms of shooting consistency. But other than that, he looks like he'll be Lonzo Ball and he'll be fine.
It'll be really interesting to see if he ever gets back into the starting lineup, in my opinion, though, just because who do they take out? Unless, Kenrich Williams has a role there where he's like, I'm the defense first guy, but I rebound. I can do a little bit of, I'm a good passer. I can hit an open shot. Lonzo, unfortunately, with JJ Redick playing so well, Redick had 26 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 5 of 8 from three-point land. And that 3-point shooting, we talked about it in the last podcast, like that's so important for helping everything around the other guys in the starting lineup to open everything up for them. So there's a big part of me that thinks that Lonzo might just end up getting stuck in the backup role I mean, the only way I think Kenrich Williams comes out of that starting lineup right now is if when Zion comes back. I might be wrong. I kind of hope I'm wrong. I hope the Pelicans shift Brandon Ingram up to power forward, put Lonzo Ball back into the starting lineup, and say we're going to keep JJ Redick in there too. I really don't think it'd be smart for the Pelicans to take JJ Redick out of the starting lineup. And then what happens when Zion comes back too? Like, you're going to have to make a decision at some point whether you want to start. I just think you need JJ Redick shooting out there if you want to win games. So if you're not worried about winning games this year, then fine, continue to bring JJ Redick off the bench. But if you want to win games this year, I think JJ Redick should be in their starting lineup.
I think Williams will be the odd man out, but I don't see it happening for another month or so. I'm not sure. I think Ball will take a little bit time to really get the full minutes load, and it could be a while before he not only gets the minutes load, but also plays up to the standard of being the starting point guard again. But yeah, they're gonna have to shuffle some things around. I'm not really sure how it's all gonna happen, but my guess would be that Williams will eventually be the guy.
So with Derek Favors being out, we got another look at rookie Jackson Hayes getting us.
He looked good, man.
Another start. Just 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. But you're saying in his 21 minutes, despite his foul trouble, he looked good out there.
He really did. He's got a lot of bounce, man. A lot of bounce. And he actually led the team. In 21 minutes, he was a plus 21 to lead the Pelicans. And you can just, sometimes playing center, you should end up with a good amount of rebounds, but I think watching the game, not necessarily just the box score, you could see that Jackson is going to be something. I liked it. He's what, only 19, and he's going to put, I think, a ton of muscle on, and like I said, a lot of bounce. He's going to be pretty good.
I think it's very possible that Derek Favors never steps foot back into the starting lineup, and that they just say, especially since the Pelicans, after they got off to a slow start this season, and because of the injury issues that they've had, I just don't see why they would put Jackson Hayes back to the bench and put Derek Favors in there. It just seems like he's already proven he has the talent, and he just needs the reps to continue to improve. He needs, as I've made arguments on this podcast already this week about Michael Porter Jr. needing to be out there playing against NBA competition to develop himself. Why not get Jackson Hayes out there this whole season? If this season is just about development for guys like Zion and Lonzo and Brandon Ingram and how they're going to play with Drew Holiday, then start Jackson Hayes. Your other option that you could maybe get crazy with is to say, we'll bring Hayes off the bench and we'll start Zion as an undersized center, and maybe he can just get by with his strength and athleticism. But I don't necessarily think you'd want to go putting Zion in that situation either. So
not to start.
They've got a lot of talent, and it's a lot of fun, young talent and interesting talent. Even a guy like Derek Favors, he's only, I believe, 28. So, there's still like several potential good years out of Derek Favors that you can get. So as much as I want to say that they should just go ahead and start Jackson Hayes from a team asset situation, you might look at Derek Favors and say, we want to play him so that we can maybe trade him, or something along those lines. Anything else that stuck out from you on the Pelicans side of things?
Ingram might be as originally advertised, man. I've seen so many flashes of him on just a few plays over time with the Lakers where I think, oh, okay, there it is. He's gonna be pretty darn good. Tonight was the first time where I felt like he was almost always that player. And there's a certain like fluidity that he started to play with, that he understands the space and how to use his length. And I know somehow he's an inch shorter this year than he was last year, but he's their superstar. I think he's their wing superstar. Not this moment, but he's like, he's.
it's pretty cool to see him breaking out in this way. Hopefully it sticks. Hopefully it's real. Hopefully, but he's been great from 3-point land this year to open up the season. Don't necessarily think he'll continue to be that great, but maybe this is just where he's at after a couple of really good years, and that's just where the development path has led. Back when Brandon Ingram and Ben Simmons got drafted, I remember going on a draft podcast, and I talked about how I was like, well, Brandon Ingram should project to be better in the NBA because of his shooting and his size and his length and all this kind of stuff. Like, whereas with Ben Simmons, like if you can't project him to have a jump shot, then there's a ceiling cap for him, and it's kind of I came off that projection after watching Brandon Ingram with the Lakers for the first couple seasons, because I was just kind of like, I don't know if they're ever going to put him in I don't know if he's ever going to actualize his potential, but he's certainly doing it this year, or it looks that way. All right, what about on the Phoenix Suns side of things? They had Aaron Baines out for another game with a right hip flexor, and then we also had Ricky Rubio missing another game with back spasms. DeAndre Ayton is, of course, out still. Frank Kaminsky started at center with Aaron Baines being out. And then we saw Tyler Johnson step into the starting lineup at point guard with Rubio out. Tyler Johnson didn't really – well, he had an okay
defensively, he was a monster tonight.
Okay. 2 steals, 2 blocks, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, just 6 points on 2 of 7 shooting, 1 of 3 from three-point land. 29 minutes for Tyler Johnson. That's great to hear that he had a wonderful defensive game from your perspective, because maybe that'll help him keep his rotation role longer this season, because the Suns have some awkward guard depth behind Ricky Rubio, and
they need to talk to the Bulls. Can we work something out there?
You're right about that. You are right about that. Although Elie Okobo had a decent game as well, plus 16 off the bench, 11 points, 7 assists, 1 steal in just 20 minutes. Elie Okobo he was drafted last year and had a bunch of hype around him as this higher upside kind of Jamal Murray type of guard, and then over the summer, any hype about Elie Okobo just kind of got swept under the rug. People started to say he was trash, not going to be an NBA player anymore. So I am happy to see that the silly narratives from the summer, where I think people maybe get overreactionary to just small sample sizes. It's nice to see Okobo playing well, as I get overreactionary to a small sample size in the regular season.
No, he put up good numbers in 20 minutes, and he had a pretty highlight and one play too. That was, I think they showed that a couple times. So he looked good tonight too.
Now, I know Devin Booker struggled a little bit, had 6 turnovers, but and also with Rubio out, Devin Booker was looking to get other people in the action a little bit more. But just 14 shot attempts from him that just seems like bad coaching. And especially when you see that you go and you look at the score and you're just like 3 points. Maybe give Devin Booker more shots, and you definitely would have had another 3 points. Kelly Oubre got into some early foul trouble and then didn't get any other fouls and had a great game. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 of 4 from 3-point land, 7 of 17 overall, so not too great in his efficiency from there, but 9 of 9 from the free throw line in his 35 minutes. Great game from Kelly Oubre there.
It's fun to see Oubre on one side, Ingram on the other, 2 young, fast-paced teams. Not we talked about last night, they had the best and the worst of the marquee games. Tonight, I was trying to think, okay, why would they schedule this game? I understand the Pelicans, but then, for being like the hot young team and Zion and everything. But I guess it would be, you could think about it as this year's first round pick versus last year's first overall pick. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Because that's what they had it scheduled before they didn't schedule it after it was definitely before the suspension that it all got scheduled. That's a really good call there. Plus, I think you schedule a game like this because you anticipate it's going to be competitive. So It's so funny that we were looking at these games last night and saying like, oh, that might be really ugly. And then it ended up being two really good games.
That both came down to the last minute, if not 2 minutes.
Any other performances from the Suns and the on this game? I'm frustrated by looking at Dario Saric's line because it's just, why are they even bothering to start him? Like, put Michael Bridges out there, and at least you're going to get better defense, and especially better perimeter defense, and even potentially better rim protection, or at least more chaos in the passing lanes if you have Michael Bridges out there. Michael Bridges had a pretty good game. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 36 minutes. Great game.
Yeah, fun night in the NBA.
Yeah. All right. Nothing else really from these two games. You want to just take a quick glance through the 10 games for tomorrow's slate?
Yeah, we've got the Lakers coming to OKC.
We do. Oh, sorry. You want to?
We can roll through if you want. I wasn't going in order either. So
you know what? I was trying to get the. This is my first time hosting the. And people who aren't watching this on YouTube are like, "What is going on right now? Why are they talking about randomness?
Why are they on the wrong sides?"
Yeah, I was trying to share a screen, so I apologize for taking so long there. But yep. So what was the first game you mentioned?
The Thunder and the Lakers.
The Thunder and the Lakers. Where did you see that one?
Am I?
Oh, that's a 7 p.m. game.
Yeah, it's a later game.
Oh, you just put it at the top because it was the most interesting one?
It was how it was on my screen at the time.
It
was an operator error.
We are doing a great job here. All right, let's take a look at Friday's 10 games. For 6 p.m. games, you got Charlotte at Washington. Looks like both teams are pretty healthy here. Jan Mahinmi is still out for Washington. Two poor teams. Should be a good game. I don't really know any big storylines that I'd be looking at from this game. You continue to watch the center position and just that front court overall for the Wizards from game to game right now, as far as whether or not Rui Hachimura, Mo Wagner, Thomas Bryant, Davis Bertans, which one of these guys is going to step up from game to game. That's been fun to see. We saw Ish Smith play good last game. Maybe this time it'll be Isaiah Thomas who steps up. From Charlotte, we're just hoping to continue to see Devontae Graham play well. Hopefully Miles Bridges has another good game after his struggles there or his waffling play throughout the season so far. The last couple games have been much better for Miles Bridges, and hopefully he can keep that up. Anything from you on that game?
No, I am excited to see Bertans nail some threes though, as he's been doing this season. His percentages are, what is he at? Is he above 50?
I don't know at the moment. I apologize.
Right, I'll check that out.
It's hard for me to you do that. The Atlanta Hawks at the Detroit Pistons, second game of the night. Cam Reddish is questionable with a wrist issue. Chandler Parsons and Evan Turner are both probable. Whenever the Hawks mark guys as probable, they play. If you're questionable, it truly is a 50-50 thing for them. For the Pistons, Markieff Morris is questionable with his knee issue that he had in the previous game, and Tony Snell is set to miss another game there. We saw Langston Galloway get the start with Tony Snell out in the previous game. You'd think the Pistons might go another route, though, with this matchup, just because they got beat by 20 points by the Bulls in their previous game. So you think that Coach Casey might want to take a look at something else. Anything from you on this one?
The Hawks got to be pretty worn out, man. I think they're in a stretch of 5 games in 7 days. They had back-to-backs in LA, then they played the Bucks last night. So they got another game now in Detroit. So they're a pretty young team that's going to be a little worn out. We'll see how that goes for them. I'm not expecting too much out of them on Friday, but who knows? They're a young team, so they could surprise you with energy. But I think the way the Pistons play is going to take its toll physically on the Hawks. It's going to be tough for them to get a win.
And if Cam Reddish has to sit out a game, maybe we get Alan Crabb getting a spot start at shooting guard or DeAndre and Bembry. The next game on the docket, Sacramento Kings at the Brooklyn Nets. Corey Joseph is questionable for the Kings with a left heel bruise, and Bogdan Bogdanovic is questionable with a hamstring issue that crept up at the end of his last game. Hopefully both those guys are good to go for the Kings. They've already got enough injuries that they're dealing with. Marvin Bagley remains out. Trevor Ariza is out with a right groin issue for the next 4 games now. On the Brooklyn side of things, Jarrett Allen is probable, and Kyrie Irving remains out. So you think it's going to be probably a pretty good game with both teams dealing with issues right now. Hopefully it's competitive, fast-paced, and I'm going to guess we're going to see just a ton of three-pointers. Buddy Buckets probably lighten things up. Rashawn Holmes, Jarrett Allen matchup will be pretty good probably. So that'll be one to watch. And ultimately, though, I just want Bogdan Bogdanovic to be healthy enough to play because he's been on a bit of a tear lately.
And I'm hoping the same thing for Jarrett Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. Next game on the docket, Miami Heat at the Chicago Bulls. Deion Waiters, Derek Jones, KZ Okpala, and Justice Winslow are out on Friday, as well as the other game for this weekend for the Heat. So we're going to continue to see that Heat starting lineup that's been having such a good run of late to open the season with Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson, of course, hit a Heat record 9 3-pointers in their previous game. On the Chicago Bulls side of things, Chandler Hutchinson is doubtful. Luke Cornett remains out, and Wendell Carter with his left thumb sprain will be A-OK to play. They've listed Wendell Carter every single game, and he's always played. He hasn't been questionable once. They always list him as probable, and then they list him as playing. It's ridiculous. Anything from this Miami and Chicago game that stands out that you're looking forward to see? I know personally, I'm looking forward to that Wendell Carter versus Bam Adebayo matchup. Two centers who are kind of not traditionally huge, but they have strength and athleticism and can both kind of move and flow well. I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, both 6'9" guys, but still play both a lot bigger than they are.
Yep. Hopefully Zach LaVine has a bounce back after his crappy game in the previous one too.
Hopefully the Bulls lose by a ton and Jim Boylan gets fired.
Well, with Chandler Hutchinson being out, we're probably going to see Shaq Harrison get another spot start at small forward. So, and with how well Shaq Harrison played in their previous game to help them get that 20-point win over the Detroit Pistons, maybe Miami should be fearing the Bulls and Shaq Harrison.
Okay.
The next game on the docket is the San Antonio Spurs versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Derek White is questionable for the Spurs. Josh Richardson is questionable for the Sixers. Joel Embiid has said he plans on playing in both games of this back-to-back for the Sixers, so we should consider him locked to play. Still, I think there's a pinch of maybe sitting out if something dumb happens, or if I don't want that, but
you're skeptical, and as you should be.
Yep. Trey Burke is also questionable with an ankle issue. Hopefully Josh Richardson's back. Hopefully Derek White's back. I wish the Spurs would do something different than what they did in their previous game. I don't want to see Patty Mills starting any more games at point guard. I don't care if he's playing well. He's 31. He's too small to be their starting point guard. It's ridiculous that Coach Popovich went with the nuclear option and brought DeJounte Murray off the bench. Just ridiculous in the previous game. I hope that the Spurs get blown out by 20. Anthony, you yawner.
Sorry.
And I hope that the Spurs get blown out by 20 and Coach Popovich gets fired.
Wow. Okay.
I just want the Spurs to figure this out. I feel like they're. I think it's ridiculous how poorly they've played this season, and I would put a lot of that blame at Coach Popovich for running out guys like Marco Bellinelli for too many minutes. I don't feel like he's using his guys right. I don't. Maybe I should talk more about it, but I've railed about the Spurs too much this week to really have the energy to do it on a Friday podcast. Los Angeles Lakers. I'm sorry. Did you have anything from that game that you're excited
No,
about?
I was just gonna say that is that is one of the ESPN games of the night. If anyone is trying to keep on track with the TV schedule.
Well, at least it will be very popular on social media then. So we'll get tons of highlights and lowlights tweeted out.
Popular, was that a pun?
No, it was not meant to be, but it was inadvertently. The Los Angeles Lakers at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now we can talk about this game, Anthony.
Oh.
Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, and Alex Caruso for the Lakers are all probable. Avery Bradley remains out with his leg contusion. Hamidou Diallo and Andre Roberson are out for the Thunder. I'm interested to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as I am every game that he plays. Other than that, though, this is probably going to be – it's just a 4.5 over-under, but –
wow.
I'm going to guess that the Thunder get their butt whooped.
I'm going to guess that Anthony Davis doesn't play.
Oof, no way.
Okay.
Maybe. No way. I hope not. I don't want to root for that. I don't even want to guess it.
Oh, no, I don't want to root for that. No, me neither. I'm just okay. Vegas knows something. It's a suspicious line.
Oh, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah. All right, next game on the docket, Cleveland at Dallas. Tristan Thompson is back in after resting the previous game. Brandon Knight is probable with an ankle issue. John Henson remains out. Dylan Windler remains out for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And on the Dallas side of things, Seth Curry is questionable with the illness that kept him out of the previous game. Of course, there's tons of storylines around Luka and whether or not he's going to continue his dominance. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have a few storylines that are interesting on their side in respect to the fact that at halftime in their previous game with the team struggling so much, John Beilein opted to throw out – he took all his three wing starters in Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, and Cedi Osman, put him on the bench, and he started Matthew Dellavedova, Kevin Porter Jr., and Jordan Clarkson. And Beilein was talking about probably making a starting lineup change for the beginning of this game here. Now, Tristan Thompson was out last game, so Larry Nance started in the front court. I would trust that Tristan Thompson's likely going to be starting with Kevin Love in the front court. Larry Nance moved to the bench maybe, or Nance has been getting perimeter minutes this season. Maybe they decide to start Larry Nance at small forward. I think that would be a smart move, or at least an interesting one to take a look at.
Well, to me, the most interesting or exciting players are Love and Nance. We've kind of seen over the last week the difference between when they do play and when they don't play. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, if he's one of your top players, you got to find a spot for him. I mean, geez, just look at how the Knicks run their rotations that you love so much.
I want Darius Garland to stick in the starting lineup. I want Cedi Osman to stick in the starting lineup. I would like to see Kevin Porter Jr. move into that starting shooting guard spot. And I would like to see
Sexton off the bench. Really.
Yes, because Sexton is a scorer. That's what he does. He's not going to set anybody up. He's not going to pass. He's not going to pass the ball. He's not going to facilitate. Whereas Garland is at least making attempts to become that thing, that kind of a point guard, that kind of a player. So I think that would make the most sense. But Garland's the rookie. He might take the benching easier than Sexton, who had that starting job all last year and was a second team all rookie. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully Beilein ends this Sexland experiment because it's just ridiculous. Anything else that is on the docket sticks out for that in that game for you?
Two things. Don't put Sexland in your Google machine, and Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Luka Doncic. Is he going to get another triple-double? Is he going to just continue to dominate? Is he going to wear a different pair of shoes to try to, in his bid as a shoe free agent, to try to entice? Because that's this whole stretch he's on right now. The last couple games, he's wearing different shoes every night to try to, Under Armour's one night, Jordan's the last game.
I love it.
It's awesome.
He's the story of the NBA right now. He really is.
Yeah. Next game on the docket, Boston at Denver. This should be a great game. Nobody's injured, other than Gordon Hayward being out for Boston. Should be a really big, awesome game to watch. So that'll be one that's on my to watch list for Friday night.
I think that's a good league pass game for the night. I like that. Celtics Nuggets, like you said, no injuries. Two of the deeper teams that both playoff teams last year. Both teams made it to the second round. I believe both teams lost in the second round to the Bucks and Blazers, respectively. So yeah, this has got to be up there along with the final game of the night. But we'll get there.
Daniel Tice versus Nikola Jokic, a matchup for the ages. Golden State Warriors at Utah Jazz. The next game we're going to talk about. Draymond Green is questionable with his right heel soreness. Kevon Looney or Kevin Looney. I don't know how you're. Do you know? Yeah. Is it Kevon or Kevin?
I believe it's Kevon.
Wow. Okay. We're all wrong.
So wow, this is He's a Milwaukee guy too, so I should know.
Oh. Alan Smeligic is out. I just like saying his name.
What is he smelling?
Well, it's Smale-a-gick. So Smale-a-gick. That's how I always remember to how to spell it when I have to write his name, which is not very often.
Jimmy Glick. Okay, I got it.
So what do you think about this Golden State at Utah game? It's got to be a absolute murder show, right?
It's all dependent on Draymond, yeah. And even then, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be bad news. I would surmise.
If I want to delude myself into thinking that the Warriors have a chance at winning this game, but
when you get beat by 50, a lot of times you do come out swinging pretty hard. So there is that.
All right, good point. And Utah's coming off a win after they lost to Minnesota, then they won against Minnesota, so they might have one of those like riding the high kind of thing where they end up
also
going too low.
Completely different style too.
Yep, they're gonna come off that caffeine high and crash.
That's right.
Final game of the night: Houston Rockets at the Los Angeles Clippers. Man, you're gonna need 2 TVs to watch Boston at Denver and then put the Rockets at the Clippers on. So hopefully Kawhi Leonard's going to play. He was not on the injury report, so cross our fingers, people. Although Daniel House is doubtful with the shoulder injury that he suffered in the Rockets' previous game. And if the Rockets don't have Daniel House on the wing to play defense, I don't know, man. They need him. He's a surprisingly big part of what their hopes are this season, in my opinion.
I don't want to say he's given them a defensive identity, but it's a start, I guess we could say. It's something.
I mean, PJ Tucker still, PJ Tucker and Clint Capella are the defense, and then Harden and Westbrook are the offense. But Daniel House is like that linchpin that says, okay, we've got another good defender on the wing so that we don't ever really have to turn to these other guys in a desperate moment. What do you think, though? I mean,
this will be the second game for the game of the night. So this one everyone should get a good look at. I'm excited. Hopefully you get all 4 of the superstars playing. But in addition to those 4, something I really like to look forward to when these two teams play each other is Montrezl Harrell versus Clint Capella, when we get to see that, because ultimately the Rockets sort of chose, well, I guess there's a few ways you could look at it from the CP3 trade perspective. The Rockets ultimately chose Capella, but now Harrell's been awesome this, since the beginning of last year, and even into back in 17 and the end of 18. But Capella right now has had 5 straight games of 20 plus rebounds. So that's another thing to watch. And just those two are fun, energetic rim runners. So that's something to keep your eye on in transition.
If you're a podcast listener, but you're not on Twitter and you love the NBA Twitter is amazing, because you see so much interaction between the players these days too. There was an ESPN tweet that was all about the the great rebounding that Capella's done of late, and how it's something that hasn't been done since Ben Wallace did it years ago, and which is kind of crazy that like nobody's done it. So 5 straight games of 20 rebounds. You would have think, maybe Drummond would have done it, but nope, not 5 straight.
Yeah, I thought Drummond or Kevin Love in like 08 or 2010 maybe, would have been some in one of the rare few that could be doing something like that.
But Capella quote tweeted the tweet about him doing having the historic rebounding stretch, and he said, "Just doing my job."
That's great.
Yeah, you like the humbleness. I do. I enjoy it.
The Swiss Mister.
Yeah. So, anything else from the night or from the weekend that you're looking forward to? Do you got anything fun you're going to do this weekend, even if it's not basketball related, brother?
That's a good question.
Going to a concert, checking out any movies, or?
Not sure yet. I might go to one of my favorite restaurants here in Portland, which is Le Bistro Montage. It's a Cajun style New Orleans restaurant.
Nice.
But one of my favorites here in Portland.
What do you get when you go there?
Oh, dude, you can't go wrong. I mean, that's my favorite type of food. So I like it. It ultimately doesn't matter. It could be.
So you have to eat it in a cage?
I mean, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes,
everything comes free. It's cage in.
Free. This is Portland. Everything is cage free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
People do have chickens like in their yards there.
Yeah. I got stoned for smoking a cigarette last week, so.
Well, maybe you shouldn't smoke cigarettes, you sinner.
And I should get stoned. Get it?
Yeah. Good one.
Yes. What about you? I'm also going to be watching Packers and 49ers Sunday night before we get back on the airwaves. So that's a huge game in the NFL. I know I'm not a huge NFL fan, but I'm addicted to the Packers, so I will be catching that. But what about you? What's going on this weekend?
I'll be taking a long walk to go get a new microphone, or a new cord for my microphone. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's cold here in Wisconsin, so I'll be bundled up and wearing my scarf. But I went out tonight. Thursday nights are kind of I have fewer duties than usual. We'll say that. I do work 7 days a week, but went out with a couple of the buds. I sent you a picture from the bar.
We were out. Nice to see.
We were out at the Ohio Tavern in Madison, Wisconsin, getting some. They have such good tacos, best tacos in town, man. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, it's like not even it's the selection. It's a small selection. There's only like 9 or 10 options, but they are so good. And it's a hole in the wall bar too. But some band came in, was playing some funky jazz with the stand-up bass, plumping and blumping. It was good.
It's just one of the coolest things that I love about Madison. I feel so lucky to be from there. Is that you go to bars for the best food. I mean, yeah, you can go to nice restaurants, but you don't have to. It's almost unnecessary. The best food is found at hole-in-the-wall bars, and those bars are everywhere. So it really is a cool dynamic. And as you said, then you add in some bands. That's a good Thursday night right there, brother.
Well, and I moved to Madison like 10 years ago, but like our buddy Billy, he's lived there his whole life, and he was like, I'd never been here before and had the tacos, so this was awesome. Thanks for coming up with the idea. It's just funny that Madison has so much good food type stuff in such a small area that you could live here your whole life and not know about this like hidden gem that, I got lucky that I found out about it because working at my summer job this year, people started chatting it up, and they're like, have you ever had the tacos? And you just start hearing it, and then Ohio Tavern tacos. What is going on?
Yeah.
Anyways,
good city, man. Good. We're both very lucky. We're both in very cool cities.
Very cool cities. I'd rather have my own food growing out on the farm, though. Anyways. Well, hey, I think that's it for us, right, brother?
Yeah, it's been a solid first week, I would say, for Morning Hoops, and we appreciate everyone tuning in, whether it be the live stream or checking us out in all of the many podcast forums that we're on.
Yep, and thank you for the support, the understanding, it's motivation, man. You know, when we get on and we see the subscriber numbers and stuff, it's another reason to keep going. And you know, because we're trying to do this late at night because we want it to be available early in the morning, and that's its own little struggle, staying up late to get things done. But don't want to complain about doing something that's fun and cool and hanging out with a friend. So
exactly, and just like anything that's new or in the early stages, just like a NBA prospect, we're gonna get better.
Totally. All right, I think that's it. I'm Kyle McKeown. You can find me on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA, and this is
Anthony Denu. You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on Sunday night or listen to us Monday morning on your way to work.
Peace out.